Welcome to the Popcorn Junkies. It's 2024 Oscar nominations announcements. You get longlisted and then you get shortlisted. The shortlist is essentially the nominations. So lots and lots of filmmakers, producers, actors, crafts people, behind and in front of the camera are all waiting with bated breath right now. We had our little mini experience of this last year where we were longlisted in the narrative short category because we'd won Best Comedy at the Cinequest Film Festival. So, having had that tiny little scintilla of kind of experience of it, it's incredibly exciting for all those creatives and all those actors and all those filmmakers that have been involved. So this is the big moment really where that long list gets kind of concertinaed down to the short list. And what are we looking for here today? Well, I think the sense on the awards circuit is very much that Oppenheimer is looking likely to clear up. I think where things become interesting, sometimes that can make for a bit of a boring award season or certainly a boring Oscars when you know what the results are going to be. We've done our review of Oppenheimer. It's obviously, I love Christopher Nolan as a filmmaker, but it didn't spark me in the way, quite literally, it didn't ignite me with an emotional nuclear reaction. But again, amazing moments, a beautiful performance by Cillian Murphy. They were just great, long, boring bits for me, and so many aspects of it that just didn't engage or didn't excite or didn't move me, I think. But that doesn't mean it's not a good film. And I think so. One of the other reasons I think Oppenheimer is perhaps going to really clear up here. It's an opportunity for the Oscars, and they like to say that they don't do this, but who thinks they do really? Is this an opportunity to give Christopher Nolan recognition for all of his other films, the films that perhaps didn't get, awards or, where he was snubbed in previous years? It often happens that, finally someone gets the award they feel they've long deserved, and it's not always necessarily for the film in question. Barbie. What's going to be really interesting here is Barbenheimer was obviously the big cinematic moment of 2023. The two films came out together. Barbie wasn't the kind of, chewing gum piece of pulp that everyone thought it could be, or some thought it could be. It was a thoughtful feminist piece. Lots of people didn't like it. Lots of people love it. But it's, where's it going to sit? Is it going to be considered a box office kind of success rather than a critical success? And I think, interestingly, even in the categories where it stands the most chance to win or be nominated, I think it's in Best Adapted Screenplay, because Barbie pre-existed, is that right? It lost out in other award ceremonies, I think at the Golden Globes, for things like Anatomy of a Fall. It's going to be interesting to see where The Zone of Interest comes. That's the new film by Jonathan Glazer about a Nazi officer or someone who was instrumental in the running of Auschwitz. It's an incredibly compelling, incredibly powerful film. We've seen it, and our review will be landing soon. It'll be interesting to see where that lands. Other films of interest: Oppenheimer, Barbie, Poor Things, Emma Stone. We saw it. Check out our review. We loved it. And as I say, Anatomy of a Fall is another big contender. And The Holdovers. The Holdovers seems to be gaining quite a bit of traction with Davina Joy Randolph potentially in the frame for a supporting actress, Paul Giamatti in there too. Our review for that is landing tonight in fact, and you may be surprised by what we thought of it. So without further ado, we're going to jump in. Let's home in, and we're going to home in on the big categories.
Let's get into it.
Okay. For Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role, Sterling K. Brown in American Fiction.
Hasn't been released yet in the UK.
Robert De Niro in Killers of the Flower Moon.
He's good.
Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer. Ryan Gosling in Barbie. And Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things.
Wow. So there you go. Already, that is a great category to show that Barbie could be in with a chance. To recognise Ryan Gosling in there, he is sensational. For me, he was, again, as a male viewer, he was the life and blood of the show. Robert De Niro is sensational. It's De Niro doing what De Niro does best in Killers of the Flower Moon, but he is fantastic. Robert Downey Jr. in there for Oppenheimer, he too, great. Mark Ruffalo, I found him absolutely hysterical in Poor Things. And as I say, Sterling K. Brown, who we love. American Fiction hasn't quite been released here in the UK yet, but really looking forward to that. If I had to guess who I think's gonna win, I think Robert Downey Jr. will win. If I said who I wanted to win, it would be a toss-up between Gosling and Ruffalo. But I think the reason they won't is their turns were more comedic. But maybe the Academy has got a sense of humour this year, who knows?
And now we have the first of the two award categories honoring writers. First, for adapted screenplay, the nominees are American Fiction, written for the screen by Cord Jefferson. Barbie,
Here we go.
Written by Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach. Oppenheimer. Written for the screen by Christopher Nolan. Poor Things. Screenplay by Tony McNamara. And The Zone of Interest. Written by Jonathan Glazer.
Wow, interesting. So The Zone of Interest was loosely based on the Martin Amis book of the same name, American Fiction. Not seen Barbie because she's a doll and her life and her world and the fiction of her, I suppose, already exists. That's why it's adapted. I think Poor Things deserves to win. It's possibly one of the funniest scripts it's possibly one of the funniest scripts I've ever come across. But that said, not having seen American Fiction, the trailers and the buzz around that film is big. But interesting to see The Zone of Interest there. And Oppenheimer and Barbie matching like for like in each category at the moment.
And for original screenplay, the nominees are Anatomy of a Fall. Screenplay, Justine Triet and Artur Arari. The Holdovers. Written by David Hemmingson. Maestro. Written by Bradley Cooper and Josh Singer. May December. Screenplay by Sammy Birch. Story by Sammy Birch and Alex Mechanic. And Past Lives. Written by Celine Song.
A lot of excitement there for Past Lives. There was a real feeling at the beginning of last year or earlier last year that Past Lives was going to sort of clear up. It hasn't really made much of a dent on any of the awards so far. Really pleased to see May December there. It's a sensational script. And actually, I think we said in our review, it didn't engage me fully in a filmic fashion, but the story is amazing. I'm so thrilled that Anatomy of a Fall is there. I don't want to say too much about The Holdovers. Check out our review later. Maestro, I think that's just a kind of gesture. It didn't rock the boat for me, but I'm hoping here that it's either Anatomy of a Fall or May December, to be honest with you, in that category.
The nominees for performance by an actress in a supporting role. Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer. Danielle Brooks in The Color Purple.
Wow.
America Ferrera in Barbie.
Wow.
Jodie Foster in Naiad. And Davine Joy Randolph in The Holdovers.
Wow, there you go. So again, the big news here is Oppenheimer and Barbie vying for the same awards in every category. Emily Blunt, she was great. I just struggle with Christopher Nolan's writing for women. America Ferrera, fantastic. What an ascendancy for her. She was brilliant in Barbie. Not seen The Colour Purple, not seen Naiad, though obviously Naiad is a big Jodie Foster fan. But Davine Joy Randolph, well, again, check out our review of The Holdovers. I love her. We came across her in The Idol. She won the Golden Globe. Could she win this?
The nominees for achievement in music, original song. The Fire Inside from Flamin' Hot. I'm Just Ken from Barbie.
Wow.
It Never Went Away from American Symphony. Wajaji, A Song for My People from Killers of the Flower Moon. And What Was I Made For from Barbie.
Wow, 2 nominations in song for Barbie. I think I'm Just Ken is going to win that. I don't know why. I've got a feeling this year the Oscars may decide to go populist and pink and funny. And that could be, I think they're in with a chance there.
Next up, the nominees for Achievement in Music, Original Score.
Oppenheimer.
American Fiction. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Killers of the Flower Moon. Oppenheimer. And Poor Things.
Yeah, have to say, Poor Things soundtrack was great. It's not the kind of soundtrack you want to listen to in your spare time, because it sounds like someone's broken their fingers and they're playing a sort of, I don't know, guitar or a lyre or an organ backwards or something. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny must just be a sort of gesture towards John Williams. It's his last film. It's another Oscar nomination, last film that he's composing music for. Isn't the music across the Indiana Jones films always the same? American Fiction Not Heard. Killers of the Flower Moon. Yeah, great soundtrack. Oppenheimer was sensational. For me, I think Oppenheimer should win that.
For Best International Feature Film, the nominees are
Anatomy of a Fall.
Io Capitano, Italy. Perfect Days, Japan. Society of the Snow.
Lots of you
Spain.
encouraging us to see that, Society of the Snow.
The Teacher's Lounge, Germany. And The Zone of Interest, United Kingdom.
Wow, the Zone of Interest in there. Hang on a minute. Let's just go back a sec. Perfect Days, Society of the Snow. Not seen any of those. The only one I've seen is The Zone of Interest. Really looking forward to seeing Society of the Snow. But surprised that Anatomy of a Fall isn't there. Maybe it's in the Best Picture category, and maybe they don't put it in both. Maybe.
For achievement in cinematography, the nominees are
This will be interesting.
El Conde,
Not seen.
Killers of the Flower Moon,
Does look beautiful.
Maestro,
Is beautiful.
Oppenheimer,
Is beautiful.
and Poor Things.
That's a tough one. That is a really tough one.
For performance by an actor.
That's a really tough one for cinematography. I mean, you know, all of those. I haven't seen El Conde, so but for Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, I mean, they're all sensationally shot. If I had to pitch for one, it would probably be Oppenheimer, if I'm honest.
For performance by an actor in a leading role.
Biggie.
Bradley Cooper in Maestro.
Wow. Bless him. We love him. Didn't like the film.
Coleman Domingo in Rustin.
Rustin.
Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers.
Wow.
Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer. And Jeffrey Wright
Wow.
in American Fiction.
Delighted. I'm actually really delighted there for Jeffrey Wright and Coleman Domingo. I mean, that's amazing. I think Cillian Murphy's going to kill it, quite literally. I think it's a trade-off, Cillian Murphy or Paul Giamatti. Again, I'm not going to say too much about Paul Giamatti's performance, but, you know, Cillian Murphy, Paul Giamatti, it seems to be the way the awards season is going, that I would love to see, without having even seen the film, Jeffrey Wright win.
For performance by an actress in a leading role, Annette Bening in Naya.
Not seen it.
Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon.
She was snubbed by the BAFTAs.
Sandra Julia in Anatomy of a Fall.
She is sensational. Check it out.
Carey Mulligan
Wow.
in Maestro.
Okay.
And Emma Stone in Poor Things.
So the big obvious absence there, or omission, is of course Margot Robbie for Barbie. So, you know, only Ryan Gosling on the acting front got there, and obviously America Ferrera, but no Margot Robbie for the lead role. So it's the supporting characters in Barbie there getting the acknowledgement and recognition. I personally here would like to see this go to Emma Stone.
For achievement in directing, the nominees are Justine Triet, Anatomy of a Fall.
Very good film.
Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon. Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer. Yorgos Lanthimos, Poor Things. And Jonathan
Wow.
Glazer, The Zone of Interest.
Really pleased for Jonathan Glazer there. I mean, he is a sensational director. Again, our review of The Zone of Interest is coming. Poor Things is just a remarkable piece of filmmaking. If I had a choice of those five, it would probably be Poor Things, though I would love Justine Triet to win for Anatomy of a Fall. It's such an outlier, such an outsider. I think Oppenheimer will win for sure, but there we go.
And now for our final category.
I can't wait! Let's read them together. The nominees for Best Motion Picture of the Year are
American Fiction, Ben LeClaire, Nikos Paramigos, Cora Jefferson, and Jermaine Johnson, producers.
Anatomy of a Fall, Marie-Ange Luciani and David Thion.
Barbie.
Wow.
David Heyman, Margot Robbie, Tom Ackerley, and Robbie Brenner, producers.
The Holdovers, Mark Johnson, producer.
Killers of the Flower Moon. Dan Friedkin, Bradley Thomas, Martin Scorsese, and Daniel Lupi, producers.
Maestro, Bradley Cooper, Steven Spielberg, Fred Berner, Amy Durning, and Christy McCosco Krieger, producers.
Oppenheimer. Emma Thomas, Charles Roven, and Christopher Nolan, producers.
Think it's going to win.
Past Lives, David Hinojosa, Christine Vachon, and Pamela Koffler, producers.
Poor Things. Ed Guiney, Andrew Lowe, Yorgos Lanthimos, and Emma Stone, producers.
And The Zone of Interest.
Wow.
James Wilson, producer.
Well, there you go. No real surprises there. And in fact, a few sort of amendments. You know, the BAFTA's got a lot of traffic there, or a lot of interest in it, for the fact that Lily Gladstone wasn't featured in the Best Actress category. So she's there, she's in there. It's, you know, Barbie is notionally in there in the Best Supporting Actor categories. It's in there for Best Picture. I think of all the Best Picture category films there, I think Oppenheimer will win. It would be wonderful to see either Anatomy of a Fall, Poor Things, or even The Zone of Interest doing well there, but it won't. Oppenheimer will win. The Holdovers making a good show. Could Paul Giamatti be in with a chance of winning Best Oscar? Check out our review later to see what we think of that. It's wonderful to see Anatomy of a Fall nuzzling its way into all the lists there. So let's summarise some of the major categories there. I think I kind of foresaw all of these. I'm sure you guys did. I think this is very much an award season in which your personal, whichever horse you decide to put your money on in the race, is just the film that spoke to you. I think there's not much to put between many of the films in the nominations this year. You know, in Best Adapted Screenplay, again, a couple of the films we haven't been released in the UK yet, like American Fiction. You've got American Fiction against Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, The Zone of Interest. I personally think probably maybe American Fiction could be a surprise win there. Best Adapted Screenplay. It's a really, from what I'm hearing, it's a really innovative, clever, challenging and thought-provoking film that sort of targets political correctness, diversity and representation, but from within the black sort of experience, if you like. Best Original Screenplay, Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, Past Lives. Nice to see May December getting an acknowledgement there. Best Director, Julian Trier, Anatomy of a Fall, Scorsese, Nolan, Lanthimos with Poor Things, Jonathan Glazer. Nice acknowledgement for Glazer. It's going to go to Christopher Nolan, for sure. Oppenheimer is going to be the film that I think Oppenheimer's going to clear up in Best Picture, Best Director, and I think Best Actor, unless Paul Giamatti has a particularly strong showing late in the day. Whereas I think all the other awards, let's move to Best Actress in a Supporting Role. I don't think Emily Blunt will get that. I think that will go to Davine Joy Randolph. I think that could be the Holdovers' one win, if you like, if Paul Giamatti doesn't do well in the Best Actor. Actor in a Supporting Role, I think this could end up being a sort of, career moment for either Robert Downey Jr. or, if the Academy has got a bit of light, fluffy fun and a sense of humour this year, it could go to Ryan Gosling. In terms of Best Actor in a Leading Role, Bradley Cooper, nice to see him there, but I don't think he'll win it. Coleman Domingo, I don't know, I haven't seen his role. Paul Giamatti, as I say, I think that's going to go to Cillian Murphy, but it could be a surprise. There could be a surprise there with Jeffrey Wright. Could we be looking at the surprises there? Look to American Fiction and The Holdovers to kind of upset some of the bigger films. Best Performance by an Actress in a Leading Role, could Annette Bening get a sort of career recognition Oscar there? Lily Gladstone acknowledged. I personally didn't think she was that great in the film, personally. Terrible. Sandra Hüller, brilliant. She won't win, but it's lovely to see her in there. Emma Stone has to win that. She's on screen for every moment of Poor Things. There's no other performance like it this year, I don't think. And in terms of Best Picture, wow, what a selection. It's going to go to Oppenheimer. But lovely to see, again, Anatomy of a Fall in there and The Zone of Interest. Past Lives didn't speak to me, but there'll be a lot of people very happy about Past Lives. And Poor Things, I think it's just a little bit too rich, perhaps, for the Academy's palate. So of all the riders and racers, riders, horses and riders, riders and horses, of all of the riders and horses in the Academy Award nominations there, who are you rooting for? Any other omissions that you think are quite stark and dramatic? I think perhaps Margot Robbie not being in there for Best Actress, though not really surprising. But she is nominated because she's a producer on Barbie in the Best Picture category. What would you like to see? Who do you think has been ignored, if anyone? I mean, are there any glaring omissions?